Hey there, Chadd Charland, non-party affiliated candidate running for State House in District 15. I was grateful to be asked to present at the Nassau County Board of Commissioners' first workshop on data centers. I have spoken before the commission previously in favor of a proposed data center moratorium for Nassau County, and through my work as conservation chair with the local chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society, I was asked to present about the environmental concerns with data centers, and there are numerous. Again, as your representative, I would take any measures and any efforts to regulate and restrict data centers to the state level. So I spoke on Monday, June 1st, at this workshop with the county commission staff, and I wanted to share with you what I said. Now, my responsibilities as conservation chair for the local chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society include staying informed and researching matters related to conservation and the environment at the state, local, and national level, and then communicating that back to my membership. And I first started learning about data centers in the summer of 2024. And for background, data centers have been around for a long time, decades, but never this many and never this large. Most of the new data center facilities are so-called hyperscale data centers, massive buildings designed to support global platforms. These sites operate 24/7, require high reliability electricity, and must be cooled continuously regardless of weather conditions. And while there isn't a strict, universally agreed upon definition, a hyperscale data center typically involves at least 5,000 servers, often far greater than that, and generally exceeds 10,000 square feet of floor space, often far greater than that. The largest of these hyperscale data centers are gargantuan, almost impossible even to imagine. There's nothing comparable in American industry. Now, perhaps you've heard of the project in Utah proposed by the Canadian Shark Tank TV show millionaire, which is despised by locals. It would cover more than 40,000 acres. 40,000. Think about that. This one data center facility would be nearly 3 times the size of Amelia Island. The facility would require about 9 gigawatts of power. That's more than the entire state of Utah currently consumes. Think about that. The electricity will come from its own dedicated natural gas power station. Increasingly, hyperscale data centers are becoming so large, requiring so much electricity, they are including dedicated power plants in the permitting. Bringing a data center to Nassau County might not only involve an enormous warehouse of computer servers, but a power plant as well, and the air pollution. The Utah project would raise the entire state's greenhouse gas emissions by 50%. Think about that. The network of industrial scale fans needed to cool the Utah data center's hot pipes will result in so much waste heat that it could raise daytime temperatures in the surrounding valley by 5 degrees Fahrenheit and nighttime temperatures by 12 degrees Fahrenheit. Think about that. This is an extreme case, but a realistic case. A county commission in Utah has approved this project to move forward against residents' wishes. Now, as we gather to think about these hyperscale data centers and what they will do to people and local ecosystems, it's hard to say exactly because the scale can differ so greatly. But it won't be good. Now, how bad exactly? There isn't a long enough track record to know with any kind of certainty. Is the Nassau County Board of Commissioners willing to put up its residents as a guinea pig to find out? And while I've been asked to detail the environmental impact of data centers, I am grateful for the opportunity. And before I do, I want to caution staff to avoid the commonly held misconception that people are somehow separate from the environment. We are part of the environment. Where nature is healthy, people tend to be healthy. Where nature is sick, people tend to be sick. Environmental health is not separate from human health. Now, along with the power demands, the environmental impact of data centers everyone wants to talk about, and rightly so, is water usage. The data center in Utah I've mentioned would consume the annual equivalent in water usage of 20,000 homes. Think about that. Now I'm going to let other folks who are speaking, like the St. Mary's Riverkeeper, detail the water concerns for our community. But before thinking about energy demands and air pollution and water demands and the aquifer and the light pollution and the sound pollution, all of which would come from a data center, there is an environmental cost preceding them, and that's the site preparation, the construction, clearing all the trees, potentially hundreds of thousands, laying all the asphalt, potentially filling in wetlands, building new roads for the construction, destroying habitat for birds and gopher tortoise and snakes and butterflies and other insects, destroying the web of life people are a part of. Now, the data center project that was rumored for Nassau County was believed to cover 1,600 acres. That's over 1,200 football fields. That's a run-of-the-mill hyperscale data center by today's standards. In Nassau County, data centers are going to be built on undeveloped land because of the volume of space they consume. The land might be pine plantation, it might be forest, might have had native plant communities there, almost surely would have, be that saw palmetto or bee balm or black-eyed Susan or oak trees or yellow coreopsis, our state flower. It might be farmland producing food, land that to one extent or another is soaking up carbon, is capturing stormwater, filtering it, and providing some type of wildlife habitat. Land that is quiet. Think of the construction noise generated by a 1,600-acre development project, the bulldozers. Think of the construction dust, noise dust. Now, those don't sound like a big deal, but in natural environments they are. And if you lived anywhere near this thing, it certainly would be. That development footprint, the bulldozers, the cleared trees, the filled-in wetlands, the asphalt, the concrete, the steel, the roads, the undeveloped land paved over is the first environmental consequence of a data center. Water consumption is a primary concern for data center developments, but we should be thinking about stormwater runoff as well. Taking land out of a more natural condition, land that can soak up stormwater, filter water, reduce flooding, and then paving that land, creating more impervious surface, hundreds of acres, thousands of acres, more rushing water during big storms off of rooftops and parking lots to be handled by our wastewater systems. Stormwater that will not filter down into the aquifer to recharge our drinking water supply for generations to come. Water that will not soak into the ground for the benefit of soil and the microbiome and trees and plants and animals. Water that will not create wetland habitat and fill up streams and rivers. Rain on development, on data center, becomes wastewater and flows into the sewer. Now, water is life for animals, for plants, for people. As a community, we should be doing everything in our power, much more than we're doing now, to preserve and augment our water resource. Data centers, in a variety of ways, depleted. In a sick kind of way, it's almost a blessing that we're experiencing a historic drought while we undertake these conversations about data centers. Now, you've heard about the incredible power and water consumption of data centers. By now, you've probably even heard about the light and the noise pollution. But I had not thought previously about the terrible heat put off by these projects until researching the Utah development. I mentioned the network of industrial scale fans needed to cool the Utah data center's pipes will result in so much waste heat that it could raise daytime temperatures in the surrounding valley by 5 degrees Fahrenheit. 77 becomes 82. 82 becomes 87. Nighttime temperatures by 12 degrees. A 60-degree low becomes a 72-degree low. Think about that. The computers put off heat, right? We all feel this when we use our laptops on our lap. It gets hot, and that's your dinky little commercial-grade laptop. Data centers run thousands, tens of thousands of the most powerful computers in the world, around the clock. As a result, these buildings emanate heat. They also, like all buildings, radiate heat, sitting in the Florida sun, baking all day. As surface heats up, radiates that heat off all night, raising the ambient surrounding temperature. This is known as the urban heat island effect. That's why it's hotter in cities than rural areas. All those buildings, all that concrete, all that asphalt, all that steel, absorbing heat all day and then dispersing it all night. Any data center project will have enormous buildings, tens, hundreds, millions of square feet, but then also the parking lots and the road access, blacktop, that will also further absorb and radiate heat. Replacing pine plantations or farms or forests or wetlands with a data center will create a heat island in the area that did not exist previously. It will change the temperature. That's how big these projects are. That increase in temperature will increase the rate of water evaporation tremendously, further stressing water supplies, resulting in what is called desertification. Significant rises in nighttime temperatures could also eliminate dew points, obliterating insect and amphibian populations and all of the animals that come out at night. These projects are large enough, disruptive enough to create their own microclimates. Microclimates, the ecology around these data centers have not evolved to sustain. Microclimates of death. Now, along with heat impacts, the mounting problem of electronic waste, e-waste, generated by these facilities has been underrecognized. Servers and graphics processing units essential to data center operations are typically replaced every 2 to 5 years. And this produces millions of tons of outdated equipment, 80% of which is discarded. These machines, which technical advances make obsolete every couple of years, contain lead and mercury that can leach out into landfills, into the soil, into our food supply, into our water supply. Where would a Nassau County data center dispose of its thousands of pounds of e-waste annually? No federal regulations govern e-waste, and Florida doesn't regulate it either. What about diesel fumes? Because data centers must operate consistently around the clock, their construction includes massive backup diesel generators, the size of tractor trailers. The sort of generators that would kick in if, say, a hurricane were to disrupt the power supply. Backup diesel generators spike local nitrous oxide levels along with other air pollutants and are demonstrated to worsen an area's childhood asthma rates. Those diesel generators are typically tested weekly to make sure they're operating properly. They can't fail. If the grid fails, they cannot fail. They also operate during high grid power demand periods to relieve the burden on resident consumer electric supply. So we don't know how often these diesel generators for any data center would be operating. The largest diesel generators in the world, not the little ones you use to keep your refrigerator going. Air pollution, nitrous oxide, human health is not separate from environmental health. Now, those diesel generators are one of the components contributing to the horrifying noise pollution produced by data centers. You might snicker at noise pollution, but I would implore you, please, listen to the testimony of residents forced to live next to one of these facilities and how the noise drives them insane. A constant whining drone that never stops. An airport closes, a data center never stops running. The noise can be heard from miles around. Tens of thousands of the most powerful computers in the world, the cooling fans, the diesel generators, every day, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m., noon, 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 8 p.m., 10 p.m., midnight, every day, around the clock, Monday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Christmas. The sound comes in through windows 24 hours a day. It causes headaches. It's unrelenting, becoming a mental health issue. Noise is routinely used as a torture device. Noise pollution can be especially harmful to children. It has been linked to poor cognition. Go sit next to your air conditioner outside your home and try to sit there for 10 minutes without being totally annoyed by it, a Virginia man living by a data center told U.S. News and World Report. But eventually that one turns off. Data center cooling equipment never turns off. Never. The communities that are inundated with this are truly living in hell, unquote. Nature, like people, requires quiet. The crickets and frogs and birds and animals that communicate with each other through sound cannot outcompete the data center. They perish or move away. Noise, constant, unrelenting. Quote, as somebody who has anxiety, it triggers an anxiety attack in me every time they're doing load testing to the point where I can't sleep because it literally rocks your core, unquote, a Virginia woman living next to a data center told U.S. News and World Report. She described how it shook her organs. Think about the noise. And Northeast Florida is a birder's paradise. Amelia Island is one of the best places in the country for bird watching. I am a birder. Nassau County is on the Atlantic Flyway, the second busiest bird highway in North America. Light pollution disrupts nearly every aspect of bird biology, from navigation during migration to breeding timing, sleep cycles, survival rates. Most songbirds migrate at night using a combination of the Earth's magnetic field, star patterns, and the position of the setting sun to navigate. Artificial light at night interferes with these cues, disorienting the birds. Brightly lit urban areas act like magnets, pulling birds off their flight paths and concentrating them in dangerous environments full of glass, concrete, and exhaust. Once drawn in, birds often circle illuminated structures, burning energy reserves they need for the rest of their migration. Some collide directly with lit buildings. Others become trapped in the glow, circling until they die from exhaustion. Migratory warblers, buntings, and thrushes are especially vulnerable, and we have those birds passing through here. Duval Autobahn works ceaselessly to encourage businesses here to turn off their lights at night, particularly during fall and spring migration. People also don't think about the amount of pollination that takes place at night. It's just as important as daytime pollination. The work of moths and bats and nocturnal butterflies and bees and small animals. Light pollution throws that all out of whack. Hyperscale facilities require all-night lighting, and that also disrupts the natural circadian rhythms of human bodies, including melatonin production, the hormone that regulates sleep and our sleep-wake cycles. We don't see the dark anymore, the same Virginia woman whose organ shook told U.S. News and World Report. Human health is not separate from environmental health. The long-term impacts of both noise and light pollution include hearing loss, stress, insomnia, decreased quality of life. The construction footprint, the heat, the diesel generators, the e-waste, the noise, the light, just a few of the grave environmental concerns to consider when thinking about placing a data center in your community, in our community.